Hello, good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. Just going to wait a few seconds while it comes up on my screen. Mm. Evening, everyone. I'm up here in the top left. Um, Evil sick woman defendant is down there. And on the right, you should be able to see what has been leaked, which is a affidavit. Apparently, it's been leaked out. I don't know where it's come from or how it's got leaked out, but it's got some very disturbing insight and information in there to just show the lengths to which this woman, if you can call her a woman, went to try and cover up what she did. It's just unreal. Hi Kelly Orzola, hi Sue Damas, hi Guernsey Girl, hi JD, hi Ninja RG9, hi Mandy Hall. How's everyone doing? It's part of public information. Once it's in front of a judge, it's public information. Yeah, it's been confirmed that it's authentic and what have you. And it's quite clear as you read it, it is. But the court haven't. It's not up on the official court site. The people of the state of Colorado versus Letecia Stauch, where they've got all the court documentation. I couldn't see it on there. So apparently it's been leaked. Who knows? These things are leaked on purpose anyway, right? I'm pretty sure they are. I'm sure they do it for a reason, to stir up interest in between all the journalists and social media and everything. These things happen for a reason, right? I'm sure. But yeah, it's got some pretty. It just shows the lengths that she went to try and cover up what she did, basically. I mean, as it stands, she is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, of course. But obviously, the evidence against her is pretty damning. But yeah, you're right, Kelly. She did lie about practically everything. She continued to lie as she tried to cover up each lie. She would just create another lie. I've got my fan going in the corner, so let me know if you can hear any annoying buzzing noises or anything. It's just when I've got two screens going, sometimes heat radiates out of the screens. I'll just give it a couple of minutes, just wait for anyone else who's going to come in. Just before I start, I'm hoping to try and get through it all. It's quite lengthy, to be honest. Hopefully we can get through it all. There may be some formal bits we can just skip over and what have you. But also bear in mind, this was filed February 28th. So this is long before Gannon was found. Of course, Gannon was found, I think it was on March 20th, wasn't it? It was a couple of weeks ago in Florida. So this will not in any way, part of this will not in any way explain how Gannon's body got to Florida. So this is pre them finding Gannon's body, but it shows clearly how the prosecution have put together the evidence and facts in how they believe that Letecia murdered Gannon and how she's tried the steps that she took to try and hide it and deceive everyone with her, continual lies after lie. Hi Voices, hi Welsh Lady, hi Mario Cruz. You're right, she did cry rape. There's some unbelievable little anecdotes that she's put in there. She can't just seem to say little lies, they have to be outrageous lies. But I think as a lot of us have come to realise, she's quite a narcissist, right? She hates to be proved wrong or to have her word questioned. So I'll just give it let's give it 2 more minutes just to if we've got any latecomers, and then we'll start going through it. Some of you may have read some of it already. Some of you may have heard it on other sites already. But it's something you're not going to pick up everything anyway in a first run through. I have looked through it. I haven't took it all in yet. And there's going to be some bits in there where you think, hang on a minute, that doesn't make sense. So I guess it's piecing it all together, really. I mean, don't forget, this is probably not going to be 100% accurate because obviously she lies so much, and she's tried so many steps to try and put people off. This is obviously the best that they've been able to put together given everything that they found. And I'm not saying she's in any way innocent. It's probably 90%, 95% correct, but obviously you can't say for sure that it's 100% correct. But obviously it's going to be pretty accurate, and they're obviously using facts and evidence that they have found during their investigation. As we know, it was a very tight-lipped investigation. They kept everything very much under wraps, and as you start to look through it, you start to see why, because they were just building up this caseload of evidence against her, and then she continued to add to that because she continued to lie and then get caught in that lie and have to make another lie, and she just got continually caught out. Right, okay, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. You may be able to see it if you're on a big screen. If you're on a phone or something, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to read it. But I'll read it out for you, so don't worry about that. I'll try not to skip over that much unless it's completely not useful or anything like that, or just formalities. So as I say, this was filed 28th of February. This is before Gannon was found. And it's obviously an affidavit for an arrest warrant for Letecia Stauch. She's got a date of birth, 8th of April 1983. So she was what, 37 years old, or just coming up to 37 years old. Oh, bless, it's going to be her birthday in 5 days. Well, I hope she has a lovely birthday, right? Okay, so this was actually, obviously identifies the victim, Gannon, as we know, 29th of September 2008 he was born. Of course, he was only 11 years old, which just makes this whole case even more shocking, and just makes us all want to seek justice even more, because like when children are involved, it just adds that extra want to get full justice, isn't it? So the affiant in this case, the person that's obviously gone under oath and been sworn in when they've given this statement, is a police officer and detective with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. Jessica Bethel is her name. She's been employed since 2010. She's been involved in homicide investigations, child abuse, weapons violations, assaults, and other violations of Colorado revised statutes. She's familiar with social media networks and electronic methods of communication. She's attended a 1-week crime scene analysis training course through the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. She has also relied on other investigators from outside agencies with more investigative training and experience, including, but not limited to, the FBI, Special Agent Adrian Cohen, and FBI Special Agent David Donati. Of course, as we know, FBI were heavily involved, being a child. The affiant submits the following facts to demonstrate probable cause to believe that on or about January 27th, 2020, in the county of El Paso in the state of Colorado, the defendant Letecia Stauch also known as Letecia Hardin, I think she's got about 20 other names as well actually, did commit the following offences. So they are saying here they have probable cause to believe that this happened on or about January 27th. Bear in mind that's the date of Roderick Drayton's CCTV. She did commit the following offences: murder in the first degree, child under 12, possession of trust, child abuse resulting in death, tampering with a deceased human body, tampering with physical evidence. So the charges we're familiar with already, right? The facts in this affidavit come from my personal observations, my training and experience, and information obtained from other agents, law enforcement officials, and witnesses. The contents of this affidavit were derived by reading reports, viewing evidence, and as provided to me by other El Paso Sheriff's Office investigators and special agents of FBI. Much of this affidavit was prepared by FBI Special Agent Cohen, but I have reviewed the below facts carefully and have no reason to doubt any investigator's accuracy or truthfulness. This affidavit is intended to show merely that there is sufficient probable cause for the requested warrant and does not set forth all of my knowledge about this matter. In summary, probable cause exists to issue an arrest warrant for Letecia Stauch for the violations. Of course, we know that she's in Colorado at the moment, incarcerated, awaiting trial. The vast array of investigative techniques in this investigation has produced a voluminous amount of evidence in support of the requested warrant. Of course, we heard that from Deputy DA Allen, didn't we, that they had a huge amount of evidence against this woman. Investigators have executed physical search warrants and collected evidence from vehicles associated with Letecia, cellular devices utilised by Letecia, and from the residence of Letecia. Electronic search warrants have been executed to entities including, not limited to, Facebook, Apple, Google, AT&T Wireless, Verizon Wireless, ADT Security System, that was their home system, Tile, Life360, Yahoo, and Ring doorbell service. Some of the physical evidence has been examined by a laboratory for DNA profiles. Of course, as we know, she liked to go on social media. She certainly liked to go on Facebook, didn't she? She made numerous postings on Facebook, actually, putting her foot in it, which was great. Investigators also recovered a significant amount of exterior video footage from individual, privately owned neighborhood security cameras and businesses around Colorado Springs, Colorado, and cameras in other surrounding areas. I was thinking about this, they probably had loads and loads of surveillance footage from that area because I think a lot of people around there had cameras. Obviously, the only one we know about was Drayton's, the neighbour Roderick Drayton's, wasn't it? But we all suspected that there was probably a lot more security footage. It does say some cameras provide recorded footage of the exterior of the Stauch residence. I don't know whether that includes Roderick's. His did kind of cover the front, didn't it? Historical cellular records and historical cell site details were analysed. So that would have been an in-depth report of Letecia's phone and that kind of thing, where she would have been, where she would have been calling from. They can get real detailed information from that kind of stuff now. Telephones, mobile phones, they can get an absolute stack of information from. And they can literally, if you take your phone anywhere with you, they can literally map out pretty much where you've been, what time you were there, as long as your phone's switched on, particularly if it has GPS enabled, then they'll know exactly where you are. Some but not all of the available photos and other evidence collected from the aforementioned search warrants and other investigative steps are included below. Okay, so here we go into facts in support of probable cause. So it just goes into a little bit about the family. If anyone's not familiar with the family and the kind of family dynamics and who people are, because as they go through this, it will mention obviously certain names. So it's just making sure that you know who these people are. I'm sure most of you do already. It says the Stauch. Sorry, I keep clicking on the wrong. Stauch family is a blended family and will be discussed at various points below. So the father, as we know, is Al. Okay, his full name's Eugene Al Stauch. Father is Al, Gannon's father. Stepmother, of course, as we know, Teabag, T, Letecia Stauch, whatever you want to call her. Now there's a daughter, Harley Hunt, who is 17 years of age, and she is the daughter by blood to Letecia, but not Al. So Harley is Letecia's daughter, but not Al's. Then Al has a son, of course, Gannon, who bless his soul, is 11 years old. And he had a sister, Lena, 8 years old. As I say, another blood relative of Al. Of course, it doesn't mention Landon here, but of course, Landon, Gannon's mother, Lena's mother. Okay, the following vehicles will be discussed at various points below. So there's five vehicles involved in this, believe it or not. The red Nissan Frontier, which was the big red truck, which we saw on Roderick Drayton's footage. That was Al's truck. It's a red Nissan Frontier. There's a black Volkswagen Tiguan, I think that's how you pronounce it. That was Letecia's main vehicle. That was the black vehicle that you saw on the driveway next to the truck on the neighbour's footage. That's her car that she would normally use. That's her everyday car. There was a white Volkswagen Jetta, which was Harley's car, Harley's vehicle. I think all these vehicles were impounded and tested. Hi, Lady D. Hi, Julie Johnson. I am flicking between chat and I'm noticing you guys coming in. So there was a silver Nissan Altima, which it says here is a rental car obtained by Letecia's aunt Brenda Acquard and utilised by Letecia from January 30th to February 1st, after her Tiguan was seized by the El Paso County Sheriff's Office on January 29th. Okay, so she got another rental car after her car was seized. Then there is, of course, the infamous white Kia Rio, which was a rental car obtained and utilised by Letecia on January 28th to 29th. So, of course, there's nothing suspicious about that, is there? The day that Gannon goes missing, or the following day, she decides to rent out a vehicle. Nothing suspicious in that at all. No. Okay. It just gives a little bit of background on the people. I might just flick through this a little bit. It's just got Letecia Stauch, aka Letecia Harding. Of course, she was the last known person, or last person known to see Gannon alive. Of course, she is going to be suspect number one. That's always the case, and it turned out absolutely right in this case. Letecia's Gannon's stepmother, as we all know. It says here, at the time of Gannon's murder, Letecia was employed by School District 20 as an assistant teacher, although I have also learned that she is no longer employed there. I think she told quite a few lies, actually, about her employment status and about her teaching license, which is mentioned in here later on. Now, they're also able to locate prior criminal history for Letecia and learned that in North Carolina, Robeson County court case, Letecia was convicted after a trial for communicating threats, a misdemeanor, but I was not able to locate her sentencing information. Letecia was also convicted of unauthorized use of a motor vehicle in Robeson County court case and was sentenced to 45 days confinement and 18 months of probation. B. Although not criminal in nature, I was able to locate a document memorializing the suspension of Letecia's North Carolina teaching certificate on or about May 11, 2016. As part of that document, it is reported that Letecia had filed unsubstantiated claims of harassment and retaliation, and the North Carolina State Board found that Mrs. Stauch breached her contract by engaging in unprofessional conduct, willfully neglecting her duty, and failing to comply with the provisions of her contract. Letecia's criminal history is only included by way of background for the court, and because Letecia has been convicted of previous crimes, it is not meant to indicate guilt of the violations in this affidavit, or to be considered as the sole basis of probable cause. But it does give you pretty good insight into the kind of character, doesn't it? It's good having that kind of criminal background, although you're not talking major crimes, but it does give a very good baseline of that person's character. Al, of course, is Gannon's biological father and is married to Letecia Stauch, although, of course, he did file for divorce day after, I think, wasn't it? Day after she was arrested, or around about that time. And he is, of course, he was deployed with the National Guard during the whole time, during the dates of January 25th to January 28th. When Gannon went missing, of course, he was away with National Guard. Al spent the night in Denver on January 25th and departed via commercial airline on January 26th, returning via commercial airlines on January 28th. Investigators were able to corroborate this information. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that this is not just repeating. Okay, so just give summary of a multi-agency missing person investigation. Of note, and in some portions of the affidavit, depending on the date of events being discussed, the investigation may be referred to as a missing person investigation or a murder investigation. Of course, at the beginning, it was classed as a missing person. Okay, next bit is not really of that relevance. Okay, so section 18. On January 27th, 2020, at or about 18:55 hours, Letecia Stauch reported Gannon missing after calling 911. During that call, she was instructed to call the El Paso County non-emergency line. In summary, Letecia stated Gannon was supposed to be home approximately 1 hour ago, and that she was unable to locate him at his friend's house. Her story dramatically changed multiple times over the following days. I don't think she could even say which friend it was, could she? Or anything like that. That's just ridiculous. What mother would not know where their 11-year-old had gone, right? You'd know exactly which friend they were going to, wouldn't you? There's no way in hell I would have let my daughter at 11 years old just go out somewhere and not know where she'd gone. Section 19. As will be discussed below, investigators do not believe that Letecia went to any neighbouring houses to attempt to locate Gannon, and was one of many lies told by Letecia during the investigation. Letecia was unable to provide the actual location of the homes that she went to, the names of Gannon's friends he was supposed to be playing with, or the names of the parents of Gannon's friends. So that's an instant alarm, isn't it? For the police, that's going to be an instant alarm. Section 20. Deputies responded to Letecia's residence at 6627 Mandan Drive, Colorado Springs, and were unable to locate Gannon. Deputies conducted a limited search of the residence and took a report from Letecia. Some of the interactions between the responding deputies and Letecia were captured on body-worn camera. So we may possibly have some body cam footage to come out on this. Who knows? Maybe. May have to wait until after everything's settled. I don't know. A missing person investigation was initiated and in the coming days developed into a murder investigation. A tip line. I found this a bit interesting when I first read it. How sick some people are. A tip line was established and investigators received hundreds of tips and leads from the public by virtue of emails and telephone calls. As part of this tip line, 2 ransom notes were received by email demanding money in the form of Bitcoin in exchange for Gannon's return. Investigators took steps to validate these ransom notes, including resolving and geolocating the IP addresses from the email headers and requesting subscriber information from the ISP that hosted those addresses. One of the ransom notes was sent from a foreign-based email account that is accessible by multiple individuals. Investigators were unable to trace the user of the IP addresses and believe the ransom notes to be fraudulent and strictly designed as a scheme to receive money. That's unreal, isn't it? Some poor little kid has gone missing, and there's people out there that will try and use that as a way of creating ransom notes to try and receive fraudulent money. Unreal, what a society we live in. Letecia initially claimed that she last saw Gannon on January 27th when he left their residence to play with his friends, somewhere around 15 hours. Based on the facts outlined below and Letecia's statement to the El Paso dispatcher, Letecia is the last person to ever see Gannon alive. Letecia stated she attempted to find him at a neighbour's house and sent her daughter Harley Hunt to look for Gannon at a park. Letecia lied to investigators on multiple occasions, has unexplained abnormal behaviour, such as obtaining a rental car, disconnecting her cell phone from the cellular network for an extended period of time, the false reporting and alleged rape, abnormal patterns of travel, a continuously evolving story with material changes in facts and circumstances, and has since left the state of Colorado. Of course, she fled to North Carolina, I think it was, wasn't it? Hi, Drew B. Hi, Al Boyd. These actions, when combined with other facts in this affidavit, support the totality of probable cause for the requested warrant and will be discussed below. Okay, so now it goes into the murder of Gannon. Just going to have a sip of orange squash. Sorry, I don't drink, it's orange. Okay, section 24. The following section will outline what investigators have learned about Letecia's activity on January 27th, 2020. As I say again, that is the day. That's the same date as Roderick Drayton's footage when you see Letecia coming out with Gannon getting into the truck. That's the same day. That's the day that he was reported missing. And outline the period when Gannon was likely murdered. Some of the information contained in this section will be repeated in other portions of the affidavit or discussed later in more detail. So this is quite the poignant bit here, really. Investigators believe that Gannon was murdered by Letecia Stauch in the afternoon hours after approximately 14 hours of January 27th, 2020 at his residence, and more specifically in his bedroom. Now, of course, putting 2 and 2 together there, so they're saying they believe it was done after 14:14 or 2:14 p.m. on the 27th. Now, of course, that was the time, or just after the time, that they returned home in the truck on the surveillance footage. So basically what they are saying there, without saying it, is they believe that Gannon did come home on that surveillance footage. Now, we did say, and a few people have said, they could see a very small shadow underneath the truck as Letecia got out. This is when they returned, okay? So, saying from that, they believe that he did get out of the truck. Well, they do later on say that they can't confirm for sure that they can see, even confirm who the people are 100%, because the footage isn't that clear. But they're basically saying that they believe that he was murdered after they got back on that surveillance footage. So they're saying basically Gannon was in that truck when she got back. So he must, or they believe that he must have got out the other side of that truck, which is kind of supported by that small shadow. And I can see something, right? We looked at it, and you can see something. We thought maybe it may be a shadow from the door when Letecia kicked open her door. It could have been a shadow from that. We thought it could have been anything, right? But from that, they're saying that he came back. So, hi Hippo, hi Lynn, Love and Light. So yeah, that's one big piece to take out of this. They believe that he was murdered after they got back on that day. So she did return with Gannon, as far as they are led to believe from what they have investigated and the facts that they have. So as I say, I'll just repeat that a bit and I'll carry on. Investigators believe that Gannon was murdered by Letecia Stauch in the afternoon hours after approximately 14 hours of January 27th, 2020 at his residence, and more specifically in his bedroom. Physical evidence recovered from the residence and inside Gannon's bedroom supports that a violent event occurred in his bedroom, which caused bloodshed, including blood spatter on the walls, and enough blood loss to stain his mattress, soak through the carpet pad, and stain the concrete below his bed. There are a few, they're very hard to see. They're black and white photographs. This is just a black and white copy. You can't really make out what's on the photographs, but they are on here, and I will show you, but it's very difficult to make anything out. Now, when I read that, the whole thing, the first thing that came to my mind was the video that she released, because everyone was saying at the end of one of the copies, you could hear Gannon saying, "I'm bleeding." And everybody wasn't sure whether it was him saying, "I'm bleeding." When I look at that now, then that makes me think, pretty sure that's probably was what he was saying. And that also, I find that quite disturbing, because I think that video that we heard and saw that she put out herself, Letecia put out herself, may have been from that day. I mean, she mentioned about a candle burning the carpet, didn't she? No, I haven't read through all of this, so I don't know if it's mentioned in here. But that was the excuse that she made for that video, for her reprimanding Gannon, if you like, on that video. But they found considerable bloodshed in his bedroom. That's a fact. Based on evidence recovered from the residence, Gannon's remains were eventually, this is what they believe, okay, this is not 100% fact, this is from the affidavit, this is what prosecution believe happened. Based on evidence recovered from the residence, Gannon's remains were eventually brought through the house into the garage and likely loaded into the back of Letecia's Volkswagen Tiguan. Now that's the black vehicle that you see on Roderick Drayton's CCTV footage. Is the black vehicle next to, or what she backs into, or backs next to in the driveway footage. That's her main vehicle. So they believe that she killed him in the bedroom, took him out the house through the house into the garage, and likely loaded him into the back of her Volkswagen Tiguan, which is her black vehicle. Now she, of course, tried to explain why there was blood in the garage, didn't she? Because she said about Gannon cutting his foot. And then I think she said they sat on the step or the door of one of the cars or one of the vehicles, wasn't it, and cleaned up his foot. So like we all suspected, she was trying to create stories and scenarios for what she knew the investigators were finding in her property. After cleaning the murder scene, Letecia utilised the Tiguan, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Tiguan, to transport and dump Gannon's remains on the evening of January 28th, the following day. So they believe that she basically put Gannon's body into the back of her black Volkswagen, and he remained there until the following day, when she then took that vehicle somewhere, transported him and dumped his body. Letecia likely disposed of his remains off of Highway 105S Perry Park Road in Douglas County, Colorado. Now, mistake me if I'm wrong, but isn't that where they were doing the finger searching in the snow? They were searching, weren't they, along the highway? I think they were doing fingertip searches. Yeah. Hi Ramona, by the way. Hi, we only have one life. Yeah. So, well, they're saying here that they believe that she disposed of his remains there at some point, or his body on the 28th. She disposed of his body in that area. Obviously, we know that she's very likely have moved him at various points. As I say, this is not going to go into touch how Gannon ended up in Florida. This is all before his body was found. Indeed, the Metro Crime Laboratory determined that blood discovered in Gannon's bedroom, the Stauch's garage, and blood on a piece of particle board located off of Highway 105 S Perry Park Road all matched his DNA profile. So that's the piece of 2x4 that was mentioned that had blood on. So that was found off of Highway 105S Perry Park Road, had blood on it, and it matched his DNA profile. So that's probably what they were looking for when they were doing that searches along that highway. They may well have been looking for that piece of board. Don't quite know how they would have known that location yet, but it may become clear. On Monday, January 27th, so this is going back to the day that it happened, Gannon stayed home from school. Based on text messages from Letecia to Mr. Stauch, or Al, Gannon was up most of Sunday evening with a stomach problem. Letecia did tell Gannon's school, Grand Mountain Elementary, that Gannon would be absent on Monday. Investigators were able to verify that Gannon was marked as an excused absence that day. Letecia also told Al that I am just going to give them an excuse at work and stay with him. Indeed, Letecia did come up with an excuse, and she told her employer via text message at or about 0437 hours that her stepdad was killed after being hit by a car and she would not be able to come to work that day. So that's the kind of lie that she made up to say to work. Not, oh, I don't feel very well or I need to look after my son. No, she said that her stepdad was killed after being hit by a car. That's a little bit of insight there into the mind of that woman. The kind of crazy lies that she comes up with. So it's interesting there that obviously it was thought that Gannon may have had a stomach problem. And I do think on that CCTV footage, when he comes out, he's clearly in distress. Looks to possibly be holding his stomach. Now, I don't know if this woman premeditated this, whether she did something the day before to make him ill. Could she have drugged him? Who knows? Of course, now they have Gannon's body. They may well come along with a whole load more evidence. Now they found him. Possibly, I don't know what they'll be able to find, but they're probably going to be finding a lot more forensic evidence now they found him. On Monday, I've read that bit. Okay, so he stayed home. 28 other electronic evidence such as time and date stamped photographs and videos were recovered from Letecia's cellular telephone that indicate Gannon was likely still alive during the morning of January 27th. As displayed below, images were taken on Letecia's cell phone at or about 08:13 and 08:17 hours on the morning of January 27th, showing Gannon sleeping in his bed. Of particular note, his Nintendo Switch, a small video games console, if you're familiar with the Switch, is visible in the photo lying next to him on the bed. Mr. Stauch has said that this gaming system was of high importance to Gannon. To date, investigators have been unable to locate the Nintendo Switch. It should also be noted that Letecia used her phone the following day, January 28th, at or about 12:57 hours, to conduct a Google search. Can Nintendo find my Switch? This is also detailed in a list of some of her search history, and reasonably occurred because she was contemplating how she would dispose of the Switch. So it sounds like she even went to the lengths of trying to get rid of Gannon's Nintendo Switch. Maybe she was going to try and use that to say, look, he's run off with his Switch. You know, maybe in her head that was going to help convince people that he'd run off. I conducted a Google search for the term "Can Nintendo find my Switch?" and learned that the Switch does not come with any sort of tracking ability. As such, Letecia likely felt it was safe to dispose of the Switch and use the missing Switch to help deceive law enforcement into searching for Gannon as a possible runaway. So yeah, she basically used it as oh look, his Switch is gone. He loved his Switch. He must have run off and took his Nintendo Switch with him. In her warped head, she used that to try and deceive law enforcement. Excuse me a minute. Dry throat. Hi, Firefly. Kimberly's not here yet, is she? I don't think. No. Sorry if I've missed anyone. Hi, Hippo. Yeah, so police found blood in the bedroom. Considerable blood in Gannon's bedroom. Okay, so we're just talking now about the Switch. Gannon's Nintendo Switch that he loved playing on. She disposed of that, likely as a way to try and deceive law enforcement to say that he'd run off and he took his Nintendo Switch with him. Okay, voices, thanks. Ultimately, investigators located video surveillance from a neighbour's surveillance camera that showed what investigators believed to be Letecia and an individual that appeared to match Gannon's physical description depart their residence in the Nissan Frontier at or about 10:16 hours on January 27th. We're all familiar with that footage, aren't we? That's the neighbour's footage. That's Roderick Drayton's footage. The video camera is several homes away. I think we found it's 2 houses along, and does not provide images clear enough to make positive identifications of those captured in the recording. Now, we knew it was quite poor recording, didn't we? That's how accurate CCTV's got to be. If there's any kind of, blurriness or anything like that, they cannot be 100% sure on a CCTV. Then it becomes very hard to use in a court of law or against the defendant. I mean, they're almost certain it's going to be them, right? But if you can't 100% identify someone on there, then it becomes possibly not admissible as evidence. The vehicle returned at or about 14:19 hours, and Letecia exited the vehicle. After viewing the video, so this is likely the El Paso County Sheriff's Officer that put together this affidavit. It may be the FBI agent that helped put it together. After viewing the video, I cannot be sure if another person exited the vehicle or not, but I submit Gannon likely did return home with Letecia that afternoon. These times corroborated by data collected from an ADT security system installed in the Stauch's residence are discussed below in more detail. So they do believe that Gannon did return home with Letecia. As I said earlier, some people said they could see a shadow under the truck. Initially, of course, they were saying, or word was going around that they were corroborating what Roderick was saying, that he didn't return home. So that's a little bit confusing there. But they are basically saying they believe that he did return home. Based on data returned from the Stauch's ADT security system, the motion detectors in the living room or basement did not register any activity from approximately 10-12 hours until Letecia and Gannon entered the home at approximately 14:22 hours. Investigators confirmed Lena to be at school and confirmed that Harley was at work. As such, investigators believe there was likely nobody else in the residence except Letecia and Gannon. So they had an ADT security system with motion detectors. Didn't have cameras, but it did have motion detectors. Obviously, they've been able to extract evidence from that. Okay, Drew, thanks for popping in. Enjoy the rest of your day. Letecia's historical cell site information detailed information about her iPhone status and a text message sent to Harley from Gannon's cell phone support that Letecia left her cell phone at the Stauch residence the morning of January 27th. The fact Letecia left her phone at home is suspicious on its own, based on her history of extensive use of the phone. So that morning when she left with Gannon, she left her phone at home. Like they say, very suspicious. I've reviewed forensic search records from Letecia's phone, found she is an active user of social media, including but not limited to Facebook and Instagram. A more detailed review of Letecia's iPhone screen time log between January 25th at 08 hours and January 29th at 1100 hours revealed Letecia spent approximately 38,607 seconds on Facebook and Facebook Messenger alone, which equates to approximately 10.7 hours of cumulative time over those few days. So they're basically saying she's a heavy phone user, always on social media. Why would she have left her phone at home? It's basically what they're saying. Letecia's telephone was locked at or about 09:56 hours on January 27th and unlocked at 14:45 hours on the same day. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know they could tell what time you've locked your phone and unlocked your phone. See what I mean? That's the kind of detailed evidence that they can gather from when they do these forensic searches on things like iPhones and stuff. This kind of stuff they can get out of there is crazy. The timing of the unlocking of the device is significant as compared to her departure and arrival to and from the residence. It should be noted by the court. So it's basically confirmation that she didn't have a phone with her when she left that morning with Gannon. Particularly, Letecia did not open her phone for approximately 30 minutes after she arrived back to the residence. On January 27th, there was a message sent from Gannon's phone to Harley's phone that reads, Tecia left phone at home. If you need her, text me. This message was sent at or about 10:37 hours. As I say, that was from Gannon's phone to Harley's phone. Investigators were able to confirm, based on video surveillance footage and purchase receipts, that Letecia travelled to Petco, located at 5020 North Nevada Avenue, Colorado Springs. This Petco is approximately 22 miles from the residence and is an approximate 30-minute drive. The receipt shows that Letecia completed her purchase at or about 12:06 hours. The receipt shows that Letecia completed her purchase at or about 11:22 hours. Gannon is not visible on any of the surveillance video obtained at Petco. Letecia's whereabouts are unknown between approximately 11:22 and 13:22. At 13:22 hours, Letecia was again captured on video surveillance making a second purchase at the same Petco on North Nevada Avenue. Mr. Stauch sent a text message to Gannon's cell phone at or about 12:06 that read, "Hey buddy." This message was unanswered until 13:21 hours. The response was, "Can I play Zelda at least?" Mr. Stauch replied, "Not today." A significant event occurred on Gannon's phone at about 13:43 hours, which is prior to arriving back at the Stauch residence. There was an internet search for "Can my parent find my cell phone? If it's off." I submit that this internet search was likely conducted by Letecia on Gannon's phone and not Gannon himself, based upon the content of the search, the way the search terms are phrased, and the presence of a dot in between phone and if. This is very similar to the way Letecia conducted searches on her phone. However, I located other internet searches with a dot in Gannon's search history, which I also reasonably believe were conducted by Letecia. A more detailed explanation of Letecia's search history is included below. So, as we suspected, she was sending texts on Gannon's phone. Obviously trying to throw everyone off the scent when she knew it was going to be looked at. Furthermore, the search term was parent, singular. I submitted as reasonable that Mr. Stauch only, not Letecia, would be interested in the location of Gannon's phone, and that Letecia was possibly deliberating on how or if she would dispose of Gannon's phone after she murdered him. I conducted the Google search of "Can my parent find my cell phone if it's off?" and learned that the first answer returned in the search engine reads, "The answer to your question depends on what method is being used to track your location." Gannon's phone was found at the residence. I submit that Letecia did not get rid of Gannon's phone for fear that it might be traceable, so she was very likely worried that she knew that it would be found. The Nissan Frontier, which is the red pickup, ours pickup, returned to the Stauch residence at or about 14:20 hours. A search warrant authorised by this court was executed on the Nissan Frontier and found no indications of blood inside the vehicle. So there was no blood inside the truck. No blood found inside the truck. So when he was seen struggling to get in, and obviously during that whole journey, wherever they went and came back, at that time it's very likely he wasn't bleeding, so he hadn't been injured in a way that would have made him bleed at that time. They found no blood in the truck. Letecia had been without her cell phone for hours, yet her screen was not unlocked until approximately 14:45 hours, which was 25 minutes after arriving back at the residence. During that 25-minute period, there is motion activity both upstairs and downstairs on the ADT records. Lena, of course, is Gannon's younger daughter, returned home from school around 15:15 hours. During a recorded forensic interview with investigators, Lena stated that when she returned home, Letecia told her Gannon was asleep in bed and that she could not see him. Letecia told Lena to go outside and play. I submit that Lena was sent outside because Gannon was likely dead and Letecia was cleaning up blood from inside the house. Basically what that's saying there, guys, is they believe that Letecia murdered Gannon from the time that they got home on the 27th, which was it 14:14 or 14:16, whatever it was. But from that time to 15:15 hours, they believe that Letecia murdered Gannon during that hour. So they believe that he did return home with her in that pickup truck. He must have got out the other side. Must have got outside the other side of the truck in that case, because you couldn't see him on the CCTV. But it's feasible that he did get out the other side, put it together with that kind of very small shadow that we see on the footage. And from the time that they got home and the time that Lena returned home from school at 3:15, they believe that is when Letecia murdered Gannon at the home. And she sent Lena out to play because she was likely cleaning up blood from inside the house. I say, it makes me wonder if that video that she leaked, where you think you can hear Gannon saying "I'm bleeding," was actually from that time when she's saying that he'd burnt the carpet and needs to sell something to make up for it. I think that's around about that time. I think that's when that video was made. Oh, have we dropped out? Look in there. Am I back? Did I drop out? Did I blip out? It looked like I blipped out then. Looked like I dropped out. I hope not. sometimes it screws up the sound. Hopefully not. Hopefully it'll be okay. So yeah, just to reiterate, guys, they believe that Letecia murdered Gannon from the time they got home on the Thursday 27th, 14, 15 hours, whatever it was when they got home. Between that time and 15 hours when Lena returned home from school. And that's when she, I believe, probably that video when you could hear Gannon say, "I'm bleeding," and that's got to be around that day when she was trying to say that he burnt the carpet. I think I just saw someone, Maria Cruisin, said I proved he didn't burn his carpet. Yeah, there's wasn't it supposed to be an electric candle, possibly an electric candle as well? I mean, it's very hard, isn't it? If a candle falls over, it just gets put out by its wax, doesn't it? So, oh good, no one noticed, Helen. That's good. No one noticed I blipped out. Right. Yeah, so she sent Lena out to play while they believed that she was cleaning up blood from inside the house. At or about 15:55 hours, Al sent another message to Gannon's phone. "Hey, buddy." This message was not read until 1940 hours. So that's nearly 4 hours. You know, Gannon not answering his father in 4 hours. It's not going to happen, is it? Just add weights to their belief that he was dead at that time. It is likely that Gannon was already murdered by Letecia at the time Mr. Stauch sent the message. Based on exterior video footage, Harley arrived at the residence in her white Volkswagen Jetta at or about 16:42 hours and picked up Lena. At or about 16:52 hours on the 27th, Letecia sent a text message to Harley requesting carpet cleaner, trash bags, and baking soda. These items were likely used to clean up the murder scene. Harley purchased these items and investigators located a receipt documenting the purchase. Harley Hunt has refused to speak with investigators. Investigators do not believe that Harley was present when Gannon was killed. Harley was at work on January 27th from 08:30 to 16:15 hours, and investigators were able to verify this with her employer. So she was at work, and it has been verified at the time that they believe Gannon was murdered. But Letecia did ask her to buy carpet cleaner, trash bags, and baking soda, which it seems Harley did. Of course, quite innocently, she could well have bought those items. She wouldn't have likely known what was happening. And I think she's actually on the witness list. I think her daughter's testifying against her, isn't she, Harley? As is Al, and I think as is Lena as well. And they're all on the witness list. Hi, Kimberly. To be clear, investigators have not located any evidence that any person other than Lena and Letecia had access to Gannon between approximately 1000 hours and 17:34 hours on January 27th. Statements and images captured on body camera on January 27th. Your affiant has reviewed body-worn camera footage and reports obtained from a deputy that responded to the residence of the Stauch family. After responding, Letecia provided verbal consent for deputies to search the house for Gannon. She wasn't quite as clever as she thought, was she? By the way of timeline, EPSO patrol responded at or about 10:09 or 22:09 hours, approximately 3 hours after Letecia initially called 911. So the first time law enforcement got to the property was at 22:09 on the 27th. And Letecia gave them verbal consent to search the house, so she obviously thought she'd done a good job cleaning up. Little did she know, not quite as clever as she thinks she is. From the body cam footage, I learned the Volkswagen Tiguan, which is the black vehicle that belongs to Letecia, known to be leased and utilised by Letecia. So it's also a leased vehicle, but it's her main vehicle. It's the vehicle that she always uses. She didn't lease this one out at this time. She already had this vehicle. So I learned the Volkswagen Tiguan was backed into the garage when the El Paso Sheriff's Office was at the residence. The position of the Tiguan in the garage is significant specifically because of the confirmed presence of Gannon's blood in the garage below the area where the rear hatch of the Tiguan would be, and the positive reaction of Blue Star reagent, which is like the luminol stuff they use to detect blood, indicating likely presence of blood on the Tiguan's rear bumper. Now, of course, she had a little story for that, didn't she? She said that Gannon cut his foot in the garage because was it Al used to do a lot of jobs in the garage, and yeah, Gannon cut his foot. So she knew there was blood in the garage. She tried to cover every little step, didn't she? Responding deputies also searched in Gannon's basement bedroom, and I have viewed images of Gannon's bedroom taken from the body cam. Below I have included a body-worn camera image of Gannon's bedroom on the left. Now these pictures are black and white, guys. They're very dark. It's very difficult to make anything out on them. Yeah, we'll see what you think. See what you think in a minute. I'll try zooming in on them a bit as well, but it's very difficult to see anything, to be honest. On the right is an image recovered from Letecia's cell phone after executing a search warrant that was applied for and granted by this court. These images both represent the condition of Gannon's bedroom on January 27th at or about 0813 hours and just after 2200 hours. So you've basically same room, same day, one's 8 in the morning, one's 10 at night. The one on the right, I believe, is the one that was taken at 0813 hours, was found on Letecia's phone. The image on the left was taken at 2200 hours. It's an image from one of the officers' body camera footage. This photo comparison is significant for many reasons, and the corner of the bedroom where Gannon's head is visible is the key area discussed in several sections below. Now I can't make out Gannon's head on the picture. I don't think. I'll zoom in a minute and we'll see what we can see. The placement of Gannon's bed is in the immediate location where his blood, based on DNA profile results, was found on the wall, the carpet, and on the concrete below the carpet. These details are discussed below, and a large volume of blood appears to have been in that area. To me, this just kind of matches up with that, like I've said before, that video where you heard him crying and he was saying he was bleeding. We know it was in the bedroom. It just kind of marries up with that, doesn't it? Horribly. When she was saying that he'd burnt the carpet and he needed to sell something to pay for it. I mean, she thought she was releasing that to try and clear herself, didn't she? And, you know, I don't know. A woman's head is just... For the purposes of comparison between the images, it appears that although the sheet may or may not be the same, The blankets are different, and the pillowcase, if not the whole pillow, is different. I submit a logical explanation for the missing bedding is that they likely were saturated in blood after Gannon's murder and were removed by Letecia to clean up the murder scene. Furthermore, investigators were unable to locate the bedding in the Stauch residence during any of approximately 5 searches of the residence. So the bedding that was present on the picture on the right, which was on Letecia's phone, was nowhere to be found. Why would that be? Like they say, basically, it's covered in blood and she's hidden it. She's took it somewhere, they've never found it. Now, I'm just going to see if I can zoom in on these pics. I don't know if you'll be able to see. Apparently, the one on the right has Gannon's head in shot. I don't know if we're going to be able to see this. The trouble is, as soon as you start zooming in, a blurred image just becomes even more blurry. It's just impossible. It could possibly be what I'll do, I'll make this affidavit available after this video. I'll put it onto our Facebook page. So if anybody's free to grab a coffee, I think Tamra Hayes, I think you've already put a link to it maybe on the Facebook page, but if anybody's having trouble, difficult getting hold of it, I'll put it up on there. You're going to have to look at these pictures by yourself on your own device, I think. It's very difficult for me to make out anything on that photo, other than I can see that it's a bed. So I'm just going to zoom back out. But the significance of the photos they're saying is the bedding's different and the bedding was never found. Maria Cruz, that's a good point. Is that what she threw away at the PetSmart? Good point. The possibility. She took it somewhere, hasn't she? And she's dumped it somewhere. She obviously knew it was covered in blood and she had to get rid of it. What she didn't know is they were going to find traces of blood all on the floor and the wall anyway, so people think they're smart when they're committing crimes, but they're really not that smart, not when it comes to professionals and the tools that they've got at their disposal. Stuff like the luminol and stuff like that can pick up the smallest little trace of blood that you probably wouldn't even see with the naked eye. Another photo was recovered from Letecia's cell phone that shows his bed was not pushed directly against the wall by the head of the bed. This photo articulates the ability for blood to get onto the walls and floor in the corner of the bedroom. Al stated the positioning of the bed is unusual and the bed is usually pushed against the wall. So I don't know if you can see on this photo, but if along the left side of the picture there's a gap between the bed and the wall. No, you're right, Sue Damash. You can't trick forensics. That's absolutely right, you can. She obviously thought she had a good go scrubbing it with baking soda and vinegar, or whatever she used, but wasn't enough. Okay, so here we go on. So it's talking about the need to rent a 2019 Kia Rio. This is, of course, the rental car that she rented the following day, which, of course, wouldn't look suspicious at all, would it? Renting a vehicle the following day that Gannon goes missing when you've already got your own vehicle. So Mr. Stauch Al spent the night in Denver on January 25th, flew out of Denver on January 26th. Investigators were able to corroborate he traveled to Dallas, Texas, and ultimately to Oklahoma based on his flight records. On the morning of January 28th, Letecia rented a 2019 Kia Rio from Avis Rent-A-Car in Colorado Springs. Letecia picked Al up at the Colorado Springs airport at or about 0850 hours on January 28th, following day. Shortly after Letecia rented the vehicle, Letecia and Al drove back to their residence from the airport in the rented Kia. The timing of the rental of the Kia is suspicious, and combined with forensic evidence later obtained from the Tiguan and discussed below, tends to place additional importance on why Letecia felt compelled to rent a vehicle that morning. Investigators located no evidence that the Tiguan was not mechanically functioning, or noted any reason why it could not have been physically driven. In fact, the Tiguan remained parked in the Colorado Springs Airport short-term parking lot until approximately 1900 hours on January 28th. Letecia provided statements to her husband, Albert, that she was concerned about putting mileage on her Tiguan lease, which justified the vehicle rental. It is noted, however, that during the time of the Kia rental, Letecia only put about 71 miles on the vehicle. Excuse me. So the loan car that everybody thought that she had done 995 miles in is apparently incorrect, because according to this affidavit and according to the FBI's research, she only did 71 miles in that Kia Rio, not 995. Some people did say about some rental cars, they're not accurate with their mileage take-ins. I think when she returned it had 995 on the clock, didn't it? And I think they put that it had 0 at the start. Obviously it didn't. It must have had 920 something or whatever. I don't know, but they're basically saying she only went 71 miles in that rental car, which is quite significant from what we've heard so far, or we thought. During the time period Letecia had the Kia, she would not provide the location of the Tiguan, and Al never saw the Tiguan. For example, she told Al that the Tiguan was near French Elementary School. Between investigators and Al, a limited search for the Tiguan was conducted and produced negative results. Investigators later learned that she left the vehicle in the short-term parking lot of the Colorado Springs Airport, but removed the vehicle at or about January 28th at 1900 hours. The Kia Rio was returned on the morning of 29th. So she basically drove to the airport in the Tiguan, left it there, picked up the rental car, and then took Al back in that. And then went and picked it up on the 28th. Now, of course, we know they found a lot of blood in the Tiguan, and they believe that she put Gannon's body into the Tiguan, into her Tiguan. So I can only, from that, gather that she obviously knew, or very likely, that there was blood in there, there was going to be traces of his body, and she didn't want Al or anyone to see the Tiguan. Maybe Gannon's body was still in there, I don't know, but that to me is why she got that rental vehicle. That's what makes sense to me. I don't know about you guys, but she clearly didn't want anybody going near her Vauxhall Tiguan, and they believe that that's the vehicle that she used to initially transport Gannon's body to Douglas County, where they found the 2x4, the wood with the blood on. I submit Letecia could not pick her husband up in the Volkswagen Tiguan because it likely would have revealed evidence of Gannon's murder, including blood or the actual remains of Gannon himself. So most people thought she used the rental car to transfer Gannon's body. Sounds like she didn't, guys. Sounds like she didn't. It sounds like she simply rented that because she didn't want anybody to go in her own Volkswagen, because Gannon's body, she had put Gannon's body in there. The Kia Rio. Investigators applied for and were granted by this court a search warrant for the 2019 Kia Rio, rented by Letecia Stauch. The vehicle was located at the rental car company, Colorado Springs Airport, and had not been rented to another customer in between the time Letecia dropped the vehicle off and when investigators seized it. Investigators did take a swab from a stain that was confirmed to be blood in the trunk of the Kia Rio. Sorry, I've just lost my place. So as I say again, investigators did take a swab from a stain that was confirmed to be blood in the trunk of the Kia Rio and submitted it to the Metro Crime Laboratory for analysis. A DNA profile was developed and determined it was a mixture of two contributors, one of which was male, and the major male profile did not match Gannon's DNA. I submit that because the Kia Rio is a rental car, it has likely been utilised by a large number of people, and the blood in the trunk may or may not be related to the investigation. And investigators have not been able to determine the likely age of that blood and have not matched it to any known DNA profiles associated with this case. Investigators noted the Kia had a significant amount of mud underneath the vehicle, but this did not provide any successful investigative leads in looking for Gannon's remains. Investigators collected the air filter of the vehicle and attempted to identify particles that might be useful to identify where the vehicle might have been. Investigators were unable to recover any GPS data or location history for the Kia Rio. So it seems like we can write out the Kia Rio, the rental car, unless we rented that same vehicle again afterwards after this affidavit was made. It doesn't look like it was involved in this investigation. She certainly didn't at that time transfer Gannon in it. Excuse me. Letecia's Volkswagen Tiguan is significant. So this really is the key vehicle now. The Volkswagen Tiguan, that's her black car, Letecia's black car, is important to investigators because they believe the Tiguan was used to transport the remains of Gannon from the Stauch residence to a location where Gannon's body was dumped. As I say, at this time this was written, they hadn't found Gannon. Hi Kelly again. The definitive locations of the Tiguan are unknown to investigators during the time period of approximately 1902 hours on January 28th to approximately 1200 hours on January 29th. Investigators believe Letecia dumped Gannon's remains on the evening of January 28th and utilised the Tiguan to do so. The Tiguan was seized from Letecia on the 29th. Now, of course, we know Gannon was found in Florida. So, as we suspected, she's obviously made various trips. How has Gannon ended up in Florida? That's the crazy bit. So they believe that she, on the 28th, the following day, she used her vehicle, her black vehicle, to dump Gannon's body. And I believe it was at the Douglas County, South Douglas County, wasn't it, where they were looking. So at that time, his body, I guess, must have been there. Obviously, after that, he's been moved by her. Don't know whether it's, we don't know at this stage whether somebody else is involved. But at that time, they believe that she dumped his remains on the evening of January 28th. Yeah, it's unclear exactly where she dumped him or where they believe that she dumped him, but I believe it's probably in the area of southern Douglas County where they were doing the searches and where they found the piece of 2x4 with blood on it. Obviously, at that time, they didn't find Gannon. Letecia had a scheduled interview with investigators on January 29th at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office located in downtown Colorado Springs. When she arrived at or about 1200 hours, she was driving the Tiguan. Well, they seized it off her that same day. So, investigators noted that the vehicle was wet and appeared to have been recently cleaned. I submit that Letecia had to clean the vehicle because there was likely visible blood on the rear end based on the below luminol reactions. Indeed, video footage was recovered that shows a partial view of a car wash located at East Platte Avenue in Colorado Springs. This video captured a portion of a black SUV consistent with the Volkswagen Tiguan at or about 11:30 hours on January 29th at the car wash. The time and location are consistent with raw data obtained from the Tiguan's computer system, described in more detail below. Investigators applied for and were granted a search warrant for the Tiguan, which was seized from Letecia at her interview and towed to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office evidence facility. Well, I bet that pissed her off, didn't it? I bet that got her worried as hell when they seized her vehicle. On or about February 1st, the FBI Evidence Response Team conducted a search of the Volkswagen Tiguan. In summary, the forensic portion of the search revealed possible traces of blood on the rear of the vehicle, a rear passenger seat, front passenger seat, and an area near the glove box, based on luminol forensic latent bloodstain reagent tests. Swabs from the trunk area were sent to the Metro Crime Laboratory for further analysis. These results revealed that a DNA profile could not be developed and that the swab from the trunk was negative for the presumptive presence of blood. So maybe she had just about done a good enough cleanup. These results. See you later, Sue. Stay safe out there in this crazy world. Yeah, she may have just about done a good enough cleanup on her car then. To be clear, luminol is a chemical used to detect trace amounts of blood at crime scenes, and although I do not have a chemical or biology background, I have learned that luminol reacts with iron in hemoglobin found in blood. When applied, luminol emits a blue glow when a reaction occurs. I am also aware that there are other things than blood that could cause a reaction, such as other chemicals, and I do not submit that just because luminol reacted with a substance, that the substance must be blood, and only that there is a strong probability of suspected blood. The positive reaction to luminol is meant to be combined with other facts in this affidavit in support of probable cause. Several areas of the Tiguan reacted to luminol. Specifically, the search team found evidence of suspected blood on the rear bumper and step plate of the rear bumper. The location of the blood is significant because this vehicle was backed into the garage at Letecia's residence the day of Gannon's murder. The search of the residence is discussed below. It is noted that evidence of Gannon's blood, based on DNA profile, was also located on the floor of the garage, consistent with where the rear end of the Tiguan would have been. So going by that, they've kind of put a picture together, as I say, if they believe that she murdered him in his bedroom. She then took him through the house into the garage, loaded him up using the rear of her car, and that's where they have found the traces of blood on her rear bumper and on her rear step plate. A photo, you're not going to be able to see this photo, guys, it's really dark, but a photo is included to demonstrate, and it just demonstrates on the rear bumper of the Tiguan where the luminol has reacted. Sorry, Helen, did you have a question? Off where? Do you mean where they found the blood trace, or? Oh, is someone off somewhere? Yeah, so Kimberly, so they believe that it was the 28th, the evening after, that she took Gannon. So they believe that she murdered Gannon on obviously on the 27th when they got back. So on the CCTV, they believe that Gannon did get out, and shortly after that, in an hour between that time and Lena coming home, she murdered Gannon in the bedroom, then transported him, carried his body through the house into the garage, into the back of her Volkswagen Tiguan, Vauxhall Tiguan, VW Tiguan. And then the following day, the 28th, they believe that she took him, dumped his body somewhere. I think they're saying that, yeah, it was in South Douglas County at that time. That's where she would have dumped him, and that's where they found the particles of board and stuff like that. Obviously, we know he ended up in Florida. God knows how this story's going to go to get him in Florida. Obviously, that's not going to be in this affidavit because this is dated well before he was found. Within the Tiguan, a receipt from a dollar store was located, timestamped January 27th, and documented the purchase of trash bags, baking soda, vinegar, and the items listed. Investigators believe that Harley purchased these items at the direction of Letecia, based on the following text message sent from Letecia's cell phone to Harley's cell phone. Carpet powder, 2 things, baking soda, trash bags. So Harley bought the items. Obviously, there's nothing in there to suggest that Harley knew anything. Did somebody say earlier in the chat, they're saying that people are starting to point the finger at Harley? I thought someone said that maybe Harley was in some way complicit in all of this. I think that's extremely unfair if people are doing that. The fact that she bought the items that Letecia used to clean up, how would she have known anything was wrong at that point? That could have just been a completely innocent purchase. Yeah, I'm not what day was her TV interview? I think it does mention actually a little bit further on, BZ Mama. I think it does mention the date of her interview. I think that may have, yeah, it may well have been the 28th, maybe the 29th. Investigators believe that Harley purchased the items, as I say. Also included in this dollar store purchase was baby oil, other bits and bobs that they don't believe that were relevant. Just as I know from personal experience that baking soda and vinegar are common household items that can be used to clean blood. Additionally, I conducted open source internet searches that revealed vinegar is one of the most common items used to clean bloodstains. And when baking soda is applied to bloodstains prior to vinegar, it has an efficient effect in removing bloodstains. While the purchase of items such as vinegar and baking soda are common and in no sense illegal on their own, the timing of the purchase of these items and Gannon's suspected murder are beyond coincidental. I think we'd certainly all agree on that. Also located was a parking receipt for the Colorado Springs Airport that documented the Tiguan was brought into the airport short-term parking lot. As we know, she swapped out cars. On January 29th, this is now 2 days later, Letecia returned the rented Kia at approximately 0900 hours, and she was picked up by someone driving the white Jetta. Investigators were unable to confirm that Harley was driving the Jetta, but his primary vehicle, and her historical cell site location from her cell phone records support her phone was in that area. As such, I believe Harley was likely driving the Jetta. Just goes on about the Tiguan. They couldn't get any in-depth data from the Vauxhall's or the Volkswagen Tiguan's electronic system. Investigators also searched a search warrant AT&T related to a IMS identity designated to the Tiguan's Carnet feature. AT&T responded to the search warrant and provided network event location data that would give an estimated location of the Tiguan. Data revealed that during the evening of 28th, between 8:30 or 20:30 hours and 22:20 hours, the Tiguan was generally in the greater northwest portion of Colorado Springs, and likely also in an area north of the Air Force Academy and southern Douglas County. I submit during this time period, investigators believe that Letecia disposed of Gannon's remains on the 28th. What I'm thinking now is probably when, by the time they searched that area, she had probably moved Gannon. I'm thinking now, because it was after that, wasn't it? They were searching Douglas County. It wasn't days after, was it? It was quite a while after, wasn't it? Yeah, B said, Mum, I agree. I believe Harley was unknowingly participation. I feel she came clean about what her mum had her do. Yeah, I think you might be right. The fact that she's on the witness list as well, testifying against her mum, kind of speaks volumes, really, doesn't it? I presume she's probably going to speak against her mum, not for her mum. I don't know. Of note, during the time period of approximately 20:30 and 22:20 hours on the 28th, Harley's cell phone is connected to a tower that would service the Stauch residence over approximately 30 miles from Letecia's suspected location. There was activity on Harley's telephone during that time, and investigators do not believe that Harley was with Letecia when she disposed of the body. However, at approximately 22:26, Harley's cell phone leaves the Stauch residence and goes to the area of Powers and Carefree, where investigations suspect that she picked Letecia up, but there's nothing in there to suggest that Harley had any idea what Letecia was up to. Yeah, JD, that's a very good point. If she involved her daughter in this without her knowledge of what really happened, she's even more evil of a monster. That's a really good point, actually. I think she lied to everybody, didn't she? She lied to everybody. But she used other people to help her out, and yeah, that does make her even sicker of a woman than we thought. Okay, so here we go. So it's January 29th, 2020. Oh, well, that's when she had her interview with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. So 2 days later, Letecia voluntary came to the EPSO for an interview with investigators, but only after she was evasive and avoided speaking with investigators one-on-one. Her interview was audio and video recorded, and the below information includes her own statements as well as investigation geared towards corroborating those statements. In general, her statements are reasonably categorized as untruthful, incomplete, and misleading. Letecia was supposed to arrive at 10 a.m. on January 29th, but did not arrive until noon. Although she spoke with investigators on the phone several times, she did not. I keep losing my place. Here we go. She did not arrive until noon. Although she spoke with investigators on the phone several times, she did not want investigators coming to her home, and was difficult at best to track down. Investigators provided food and water to Letecia during the interview. And of course, she said that she was treated terribly and, wasn't given fair hearing. She wasn't allowed a lawyer or solicitor or anything like that. It's like, would you really, knowing her now, just know it's all just complete lies, don't you? And who cares anyway? I really hope they did treat her horribly. Of interest, Letecia brought several pieces of notebook paper with her that contained notes that she had written down. During the interview, she referred to these pieces of paper and asked investigators if she could just read her notes. Investigators were not able to seize these documents. I have conducted hundreds of interviews of subjects, victims, and witnesses. It is extremely rare for an individual to bring notes to an interview. That's not odd at all, is it? Only if you're trying to remember the story that you've put together in your head, and you're trying to remember the lies that you've told, would you need notes? Why would you need notes? That's ridiculous. Letecia drastically departed from her initial statement given to El Paso Sheriff's Office deputies regarding the report of Gannon's disappearance. In summary, Letecia said that she had been held at gunpoint and raped by a Hispanic male she knew as Eduardo, and that Gannon was abducted by that male after he finished raping her. The interviewing detectives believed her statements were false based on prior experience investigating sexual assault cases. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? She claimed she was held at gunpoint and raped by an Hispanic male called Eduardo, and that Gannon was then abducted by Eduardo after he finished raping her. This woman is unreal. That is absolutely ridiculous. So 2 days later, she comes out with this story. She doesn't think to say this at the time. That's not strange. Letecia said she arrived home around 14:30 hours on January 27th, and she disarmed her security system and then went into the basement. She said that Eduardo was in the basement, attacked her. Sorry, just lost my place. Eduardo attacked her and pointed a gun at her. She said that after Eduardo held her at gunpoint, he allowed her to go upstairs to greet her stepdaughter, Lena, who had just arrived home from school. Letecia said she sent her outside to ride her bike and then returned to the basement, where Eduardo vaginally penetrated her against her will between 15:30 and 16:30 hours. During this period, she believed that she had hit her head and may have blacked out. Investigators noted no injuries on Letecia's head during their contact with her. Letecia also said that during the attack, Gannon jumped on Eduardo's back, and that Eduardo was able to throw Gannon off his back and across the room. After Eduardo had finished, he had the gun held to Gannon and demanded a suitcase. Letecia provided him with a brown suitcase and a cardboard box. Eduardo attempted to sexually assault her again, but she hit her head and blacked out again. Just remember, guys, when people lie, there's always like little truths in their lies. And I just noted there that she mentioned a suitcase. Letecia provided him with a brown suitcase and a cardboard box. Of course, we know Gannon was found in a suitcase. She's already thinking ahead, isn't she? It's likely, probably at that point, Gannon was in the suitcase, I would imagine, reading that. Letecia stated that she tried to fight Aguado off, but was unsuccessful. I know from training and experience that if an individual holds another person at gunpoint, he or she would likely not allow the person to have opportunity for escape, as Letecia described being allowed to greet her stepdaughter upstairs before returning to the basement. Most crucially, if Letecia's story was accurate, any reasonable person would have immediately called 911 and reported the home invasion, rape, and kidnapping of their child. Letecia called law enforcement hours later and did not report the alleged rape until approximately 2 days later. Of even more significance, Letecia said she cleaned up the area where this alleged attack had happened. She straightened up signs of disturbances in Gannon's room and cleaned up the utility room. Investigators recovered cleaning supplies such as carpet brushes, which contained suspected carpet fibres. I submit that Letecia did in fact clean something up, but it was the murder scene of Gannon, not a sexual assault. Investigators took steps to corroborate Letecia's statements after dismissing them as false and misleading. For example, investigators reviewed video footage from a neighbourhood security camera that captured the exterior of the Stauch residence from the day of Gannon's murder, and did not observe a Hispanic male entering the house. Boom. Lying. Investigators did observe Lena arrive home on the school bus at or about 15:11 hours, observed her enter the residence, and observed her riding a bike at about 15:30 hours, which of course is when she was apparently being raped by Aguado. Yeah, you're right, Maria, actually. She mentioned the gun as well. She did, yeah. She's mentioned the gun, and she's mentioned the suitcase. Like I say, there's always truth in people like this when they lie. There's always truth in the lies. They think they're covering stuff up, or they think they're 2 steps ahead. Furthermore, Letecia was offered the opportunity to have a sexual assault nurse examiner conduct a forensic examination at a local hospital. Ultimately, Letecia did not want to have the exam completed. When given the opportunity to provide investigators with evidence that would possibly identify Aguado, Letecia refused to cooperate. Letecia stated that she met Aguado on January 26th, the day prior to Gannon's murder. She generally described a Hispanic male with brown hair and brown eyes, but could not provide any specific identifying information. In summary, she told investigators that Gannon had knocked over a candle on Sunday, causing the carpet to burn. After that incident, she drove around the neighbourhood where residential construction was taking place. She met Aguado, who was working on a house, and asked if he would repair the carpet in her home. Aguado agreed, and Letecia provided him the garage door code, and they agreed he would repair the carpet while she was shopping the next day. So she's gone out, met this guy working on a house, and they said, "Oh, can you come and repair our carpet?" "Yeah, I'll do that. That's fine." "Okay, here you go. Here's the garage code. I've only known you a day, but I trust you. Come in, fix our carpet, and all will be fine." Dear oh dear. How does she expect law enforcement to believe this crap? Dear oh dear. Unreal. To the extent Letecia spoke about Lena, investigators were able to corroborate these statements, but never observed Aguado or anyone else arrive or leave the residence during that time period, based on neighbourhood video footage of the Stauch residence. Specifically, exterior video footage revealed Lena was riding her bike outside between approximately 15:30 and 15:42. Furthermore, the front door of the residence opened and closed at 15:28, based on data from their security system. I know from training experience that when individuals concoct lies most reasonably to conceal the truth, they oftentimes leave portions of truth within those lies. That's what we were just saying. It's like Chris Watts, isn't it? He did that. There's portions of truth in everything that he said. A lot of it's lies, but a lot of what he said would no doubt did happen. I submit the statements Letecia made reference Lena and the time period Lena was at the residence are likely true, based on video evidence. Her other statements, however, are blatant lies designed to mislead investigators. They just go on to say about her phone records and dismissing her stupid claims, basically. Yeah, so it says here the Stauch residence was equipped with basement and living room motion detectors and contact detectors on the front and rear door. So ADT was in possession of logs that documented time, date, and type of events that generated a log. For example, when either motion detector was activated or the front or rear door opened or closed. Letecia claimed that she was raped in the basement between 14:30 and 15:30 hours. During that time, the back door of the residence, located on the main level, was opened and closed 10 times. If indeed Letecia was being raped in the basement, it would be impossible for her to open the upstairs back door of the residence at the same time. I submit Letecia's claims of being raped in the basement are false, based on her cell phone activity and the stored ADT data. And the fact that it's just ridiculous lie, isn't it? It's unreal, isn't it? The extent that people go to try and cover, they really believe people are going to believe this stuff. Iguado, seriously? Yeah, you're right, Kimberly. How dare she try and make herself a victim? So she's murdered her stepson, and there she is to police saying that she'd been raped. I mean, it's just sick. Sick can you get? So it just goes on about, again, the motion detectors in the house, just proving that what she said was all a lie. Towards the end of the interview, Letecia said she wanted to leave. Investigators seized her phone and detained her while they applied for a search warrant to obtain DNA collection. Letecia began stuffing tissues in her pants and said that she was having chest pain and shortness of breath. Investigators immediately requested medical assistance, and paramedics, probably having a panic attack because she knows she's been busted. I am aware that Letecia has made statements regarding Gannon's disappearance to individuals other than law enforcement. He certainly has, including but not limited to her friend, her husband, and the media. Indeed, some of those conversations have been captured and memorialised in recorded phone conversations and email messages. Letecia's stories have continued to evolve, and material facts continue to change, including but not limited to the identity of her attacker, the location of Gannon's abduction, and details of the alleged rape. Unreal, isn't it? Unreal, the lies that she told to the law enforcement. That's absolutely crazy, that is. Reading that is absolutely nuts. During her statements, Letecia did deny killing Gannon, of course, provided explanations as to why there was blood in her Tiguan, blood in Gannon's room, and why she was in the area of Palmer Lake, Colorado. Of course, she had an explanation for everything, didn't she? It just goes on that she was transported to a local hospital, just that she had medical care, and she was just basically being evasive. She didn't want, as I say, she didn't allow the sexual assault nurse examination, anything like that. Of course you wouldn't. She wasn't in custody at that time, so she left the hospital without telling anyone, without telling investigators. She was picked up by an unknown person at the hospital, was reunited with her daughter 7 miles from the hospital. Although her behaviour was not illegal, I submit that as pressure continued to increase from investigators, Letecia became more and more desperate to leave the hospital, likely because she feared being caught in her lies. Furthermore, Letecia did not want to pursue collecting evidence that might assist law enforcement in identifying and finding her supposed rapist. That's an absolute nut story to me, that is. Okay, how are we doing, guys? I don't think there's too much left. I don't want this to become boring. Do you want to hear the rest of this, or do you want to do it in a second part? It may be worth doing in 2 parts, actually. I can always do it tomorrow or the next night. There is still quite a bit to go through. I knew it was going to take quite a bit of time, but we can always go through it. I mean, what I can always do is put the whole thing up on our Facebook page anyway, so you can read through it. It's something that you're going to go through quite a few times anyway. Hi, Web Sleuths, Trisha, isn't it? Don't know if anyone knows, but probably a lot of you do actually. Websleuths.com. It's a fantastic resource for all of us crime web sleuths and fanatics. I've used it quite a few times. Some great resources on there, some great discussions go on there on all sorts of cases. Yeah, it's a great site. If you haven't look it up, websleuths.com. Okay, we'll go on a bit more. So I might not be able to finish it all tonight, but we will do it again, guys, definitely. We will carry on with it. I can always do it tomorrow. It's not a problem. Okay, well, we'll do the next bit, which is the searches of Letecia's residence and discovery of confirmed blood in Gannon's bedroom. As I say, this is where they believe that Letecia murdered Gannon, was in his bedroom. And as I say, they believe it was between the hours of 14:15 hours and 15:15 hours on the 27th. So they do believe Gannon did return home with Letecia on that day, on the 27th, which is where we see the CCTV footage from Roderick. And it happened in that hour when they got home. Hi, True Helper. Okay, we'll go through this bit then, and then we'll stop, and we'll do the rest tomorrow. We'll do the last bit tomorrow. And as I say, I'll put it up on our Facebook site so people can read through it and whatever. As I say, it's not something you'll read through once and have everything in your mind anyway. It's something you've got to go through quite a few times. You're always going to pick other stuff up. It's a bit like Discovery Files and Inquest Watch. You have to go through it. Well, even if you go through it 1,000 times, you still find stuff in there. Okay, so this is the searches of Letecia's residence and discovery of confirmed blood in Gannon's bedroom. Investigators searched the Stauch residence several times over several weeks after applying for and being granted search warrants from this court. Of course, we knew that. The crime laboratory was mobile. Crime scene was outside, wasn't it, for a while? The purpose of these searches was to collect evidence, including biological evidence, in support of the captioned investigation. Forensic searches were conducted by the Colorado Springs Metro Crime Lab. To avoid confusion, the January 28th initial search was authorized by Mr. Stauch, Al, and he provided consent to search the residence. Not all of the evidence gathered is included below. However, the forensic testing results of several items, including a pair of size 8.5 Nike shoes, are discussed below. Sorry, I keep clicking the screen and it blows me out of where I am. Right, okay. Gannon's remaining family members were living in the residence during the period of these searches, and investigators did not initially seal off the residence. Crime scene analysts from the Colorado Springs Metro Crime Lab responded to the residence and found traces of blood throughout the residence based on Blue Star forensic latent blood stain reagent tests. There was visible blood in Gannon's room, in the garage, and other portions of the house. Blue Star forensic stain has similar limitations to luminol, which has been described. As I say, sometimes it can react with certain chemicals, but obviously you've got to put it together with everything else that they know that's gone on and what they found. By way of background, the residence located at 6627 Mandan Drive is a ranch-style single-family home, approximately 2,500 square feet, with a two-car attached garage. There are 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. 2 of the bedrooms are in the basement, including Gannon's. Next to Gannon's room, there is an unfinished utility room, and on the other side, and it's jumped out on me again. And on the other side of the basement, another bedroom and a bathroom. There is a staircase with a small landing that allows access from the main level to the basement, and the garage is accessible from inside the residence, so she wouldn't have had to take Gannon's body outside at all. The Blue Star reagent was applied to Gannon's bedroom, the hallway leading to the utility room from his bedroom, the utility room itself, the staircase and landing leading upstairs from the utility room, the pathway to the garage from the stairs, and the garage itself. In all of these areas, investigators found positive results for the likely presence of blood. Well, that's quite telling, isn't it, really? Now, there are pictures on there. As I say, they are black and white. The top picture's completely black, can't see anything on there. As I say, this is like a black and white copy of this affidavit. It's quite poor quality. It'd be nice to see the colour photos, but we don't have those at the moment. Specifically in Gannon's bedroom, in a corner of the room, investigators located an area where suspected blood had seeped through the carpet, through the pad, and stained the concrete. Furthermore, there was also blood stain and projected blood splatter located on the walls in this area. Indeed, over 50 droplets of suspected blood were found on the walls near Gannon's bed. Crime scene investigators also suspected someone attempted to clean the walls based on the way the Blue Star reagent reacted on the wall. Gannon's mattress was also seized and contains a red stain consistent with blood in the same area as the stain on the carpet and the blood cast off on the walls. I don't know if you can see on the right picture the stain on the side of the mattress there, darker stain. That's a blood stain. The stains on the mattress were swabbed but were not tested with Blue Star reagent. The laboratory results have not yet been returned, but because other blood in the area was determined to be Gannon's blood, investigators suspect the blood on the mattress is also Gannon's blood. As I say, this takes you back, doesn't it, to that video that Letecia put out, actually, where it was in the bedroom. You could hear at the end of that video Gannon say, "Pretty much sure I'm bleeding." I'm kind of thinking that video may have been made at this time. I don't know, it's weird. I don't know what she was thinking putting that video out. She's saying about the burn on the carpet, wasn't she? How Gannon was going to have to pay. It's making all excuses for blood being in the in the property because obviously she knew they were going to find it. Yeah, Dorothy, see, I agree. He did sound injured in that video. He did. He looked ill, and when he went out to the truck, he was struggling. You could tell he was holding his kind of stomach area, wasn't he? Struggling. And yeah, in that video, he was definitely in quite some distress. Okay, I have included several crime scene photographs that include the wall next to Gannon's bed and the carpet and carpet pad that was removed by investigators to expose the concrete below. Based on the orientation of Gannon's bed, the vast majority of the blood would be in line with the position of his head and torso and consistent with the stain of the mattress displayed above. That's kind of heartbreaking because you can just imagine him laying on the bed bleeding, can't you? That's horrible. I submit that the blood located in Gannon's room appears to have been cleaned up based on residual blood residue on the baseboards as an electrical outlet cover, which you can see in those pictures, and the blood that soaked through the carpet. DNA laboratory testing has confirmed that it was indeed Gannon's blood, and Gannon's body has not been found. As I say, the time this report or affidavit was put out was end of February. This is before Gannon was found. Reasonably indicates this was likely the scene of Gannon's murder. Investigators have requested but have not yet received a report from Tom Griffin, who is an International Association for Identification certified senior crime scene analyst, a bloodstain pattern analyst, and a crime scene reconstructionist. Mr. Griffin examined the blood spatter on Gannon's wall. Mr. Griffin preliminarily reported the stains on the walls are consistent with one or more blood splatter producing events, which could include gunshot, blunt force, or a stabbing. Mr. Griffin did not believe the bloodstains were aspirated blood, primarily due to the lack of air bubbles in the stains. Furthermore, the shape of the stains were affected by the surface texture of the drywall itself. The final report from Mr. Griffin has not yet been received and is pending a peer review. Trace evidence swabs of suspected blood were obtained from the electrical socket next to Gannon's bed. These swabs revealed the blood was indeed Gannon's blood based on DNA profile testing. The electrical socket also has evidence of streak marks, which are reasonably suspected to be from Letecia's attempted cleaning. When investigators removed the outlet cover, a visible red stain was present outlining its edges. The presence of this stain tends to support that there was enough blood around the outlet cover to seep around its edges, leaving a visible outline. And there's just two photos there. You can say they are hard to make out, but there's an electrical socket on the left and with the cover removed on the right. Now, I don't know if you can make this out on this picture, but it's a photo of the wall next to Gannon's bed, marking suspected blood stains. And there are considerable, from what I can make out on this picture, there are considerable marks all around that area, in the corner of that room where his bed would have been. I don't know if you can see those, can you, on there? I'll see if I can just zoom in a minute. But I think the marks you can see sort of at the top upper half of that picture are marks where they have found suspected bloodstains. Which is a wide area. Makes you wonder what the hell that woman did to that poor kid. Okay, I hope you're in. Let me just zoom in a minute again, because I'm watching YouTube. It's a little bit behind what I'm seeing, so I'm just making sure that I zoomed it back out to the right size. I've also included a photograph of the suspected bloodstain in the concrete, located in the corner of the bedroom where Gannon's bed was positioned. This stain is also visible in the photo depicting the suspected blood spatter on the walls. The carpet above this stain in the concrete was clean, and investigators suspect Letecia cleaned the area based on carpet fibres on scrub brushes, the acquisition of carpet cleaning supplies, vinegar and baking soda. The house was a new construction build, and the Stauch family was the only family to reside in this residence. On January 29th, investigators recovered a piece of carpet on the utility room with possible bloodstains. The recovery of this carpet tends to further support the positive alerts from the Blue Star reagent in the utility room. The Metro Crime Lab reported the substance tested presumptively positive for the presence of blood, but was unable to develop a DNA profile. On January 29th, investigators found in the dishwasher multiple carpet brushes with suspected carpet fibres on them, and the dishwasher appeared to have been run. Investigators believe these brushes were used to clean up the murder scene. To be clear, no formal testing was completed to confirm the fibres on the brushes were carpet. Investigators also located an empty gallon-sized container of vinegar within the residence. Mr. Stauch believed there were approximately half of the container left before he left for Oklahoma on January 25th. As mentioned above, additional vinegar was purchased on January 27th. EPSO deputies that responded to the Stauch home on January 27th did not notice the bloodstains in Gannon's bedroom, and it should be noted the initial report was that Gannon had left the home and had not returned. As additional information was developed, more forensic searches of Gannon's room were conducted, which revealed the aforementioned evidence. There were small traces of blood found in the depressions of the drywall and paint texture that Letecia failed to remove when she cleaned the murder scene. So there you go. Basically, she thought she'd done a good job of cleaning it up, and it probably wasn't. You probably wouldn't have seen it with the naked eye, but of course the luminol stuff, the blood, the reagent stuff. It's difficult to hide stuff from there, even if you've cleaned it up. And yeah, they found a lot. It sounds like a lot of blood splatter in Gannon's room. She murdered him in his room. It's just unbelievable, isn't it? Okay, I am going to split it in two just because I'm wary of the time. And I've been going for 2 hours 30 minutes. Unfortunately, I've got other things I just need to be doing. So what I'll do the second part on the next live, which hopefully I'll be able to do either tomorrow or the next day for sure. So we're up to 122, and it goes up to it. So the next part we've got the Metro Crime Lab report. So basically, what they found, the mobile crime lab outside. Cell data, historical cell site location for the phones. It's probably going to be Letecia's phone. Letecia's internet activity between January 25th and 29th. It's got some interesting searches in there. Letecia's consciousness of guilt. And the explanation of the Volkswagen Tiguan data. This is the Tiguan that they think that they believe that she used to transport Gannon. So I will do that in the second bit. I'll just take a few questions just for 5 to 10 minutes before I go off. But I will do it in two if you don't mind, guys. Just thinking time wise. I knew it was going to be a long document, but I'll put it on our Facebook groups. You can all have it. You can all read it if you haven't already got it. If you haven't already gone through it, it's going to take you quite a while to read through it anyway. So, and like I say, you'll probably need to read it a few times. So yeah, let's see. Safi B. It appears to me that he was really irritating her, but something must have happened on the Petco trip that tipped her over the edge. Law enforcement feel that he was murdered between. That's correct. Yeah, they do. They feel it happened between 1415 and 1515. So the Petco trip, they obviously believe that Gannon was there, was still alive. He was alive when she got back in the pickup. And yeah, between them getting back on that day on the 27th and Lena coming home from school in that hour, that's the time that they believe it happened. That's the time that they believe that Tisha murdered him. Of course, they've mentioned a gun, they've mentioned a knife, and they've mentioned blunt force trauma. So God knows what happened to that poor kid. But just the deviousness in it, the way that she's tried to cover her tracks, and the way that she's used other people to assist her, it's just unreal. It's just sick. And those are the kind of people that are dangerous, man. I just hope that she gets the full force of justice coming her way. I think she's doing. I think she's doing court again next month, but I don't think it's a big hearing. I think it's more of a formal hearing. But of course, trials can take a long, long time, can't they? Could be a long, long time before we ever reach a trial on this. It can take years, can't they? Yeah, exactly. Helen Rowley, my children can tip me over the edge. I don't kill them and dump their bodies. It's just sick, isn't it? It's how you get into the mind of someone like that. Why somebody would do something like that. However mad you got, how could you hurt a child, you know? It's just unfathomable, isn't it, to most of us? But yeah, rest in peace, Gannon. Absolutely, Gannon strong. Just really feel for the parents as well, don't you? You know, they're going to have to go through a lot of these court appearances now with her sat there. It's just going to be so difficult and heartbreaking, isn't it? A trial for them, especially. That's okay, voices. No problem. It's yeah, I think probably I'm going to jump off. Yeah, you're right, Dorothy. She doesn't take a plea agreement. This will take years. Multi-states involved and a lot of evidence. They do take a lot of time, don't they? Do you think they'll make a plea though? Oh, the deputy DA, Allen, he's very insistent and determined to get her fully prosecuted, isn't he? He's thinking trial. He's not thinking. He said it. I'm sure he said he's thinking trial, not plea. He's not thinking any kind of plea, but who knows? Yeah, it is a pretty tough read. Web sleuths. They're toys, isn't it? Especially when you got children involved and children murdered, and you got sickos doing. It doesn't even go into how she killed him. I mean, obviously, they don't know exactly, do they? Obviously, this is not going to be 100% accurate, is it? They can only go on evidence that they found and circumstantial evidence that they found. I imagine it's probably going to be 90% true, isn't it? It's inevitably it's not going to be 100% true, but I mean, just the sheer amount of blood that they found at the home. is enough evidence in itself, isn't it, really? Yeah, so this was before they found his body. Positive mum. Yeah, this the date on this, as I say, it got leaked, as these things do. Makes you wonder how these things get leaked, doesn't it? What page is it? So I think it was like the 28th of February, 28th, 29th of February. It was this was published. So yes, it was before Gannon was found. As I say, this doesn't even go into how Gannon ended up in Florida. What was it, nearly 1,400 miles away he was found? This only goes as far as they believe where she dumped him in Douglas County the day after. The 28th, they believe she's done that. And the evening of the 28th, they believe that she took him in her black Volkswagen. She took Gannon's body and dumped him in Douglas County. Of course, he's found 1,400 miles away, isn't he, in Florida? So what the hell's happened between then and what we're talking about here? It's all got to be pieced together yet. The tissues thing, yeah, we did get to the tissues thing. Yeah, she was stuffing her pockets with tissues, wasn't she? And she said she was having difficulties breathing, and yeah, why did she, I didn't it didn't actually say, did it? Why she was stuffing tissues in her pockets? Yeah, that was a bit bizarre. But then she's one bizarre cuckoo woman, right? But yeah, and that blew my mind about Eduardo. She got raped by a guy called Eduardo, who she only met the day before, and she asked him to come and repair her carpet. Eduardo came over, but he didn't repair her carpet. He actually raped her, held her at gunpoint, and raped her, and then took Gannon away. Absolute cuckoo story that is. I couldn't quite believe that when I read that. I read that with an open mouth. I imagine the investigators probably had open mouths when she started coming out with that. Yeah, to save money, they'll arrange a plea. I know these trials cost millions, don't they? I guess it's down to the family, innit, at the end of the day. They'll go to land in an hour. If a plea deal is made, it will go to land in an hour, won't it? And they'll say, look, you know, do you want to take this or not? Do you want this to go to trial? It's not a decision I'd ever want to have to make, to be perfectly honest. Is it the lesser of two evils? Is it? Could call it lesser of two evils. I don't know. Shuffling her pockets with tissues sounds like she could have been having a nervous breakdown. Lord knows she felt like a rat trapped in a cage. That's why she made those accusations against the cops. Yeah, you're absolutely right. She started having sounds like she started having a panic attack, and it said she couldn't breathe and all that kind of stuff. And of course, they seized her phone. They seized her black VW that she had, that they believed that Gannon had been transported in. So she must have been absolutely bricking it at that point. Good. Absolutely nuts. Right, I'm going to jump off, guys. So thanks for listening. I found it quite interesting. I find affidavits are very interesting because they have what we considered most to be as close to the facts as possibly can be. So it's always interesting to know what's in there, and particularly in this case because we had to do a lot of guesswork with a lot of it. So yeah, thanks for listening. As I say, I will do part two. I will definitely do part two. I'll put the document up on our Facebook group as well, so you can all have a look. And then we'll do part two on the next live. It shouldn't take too long, the next part. So So yeah, well, thanks for listening, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, look after yourself, look after your loved ones, and I'll speak to you all again very soon, I'm sure. Have a great weekend if I don't speak to you before. And yeah, hit the thumbs up on the way out. It's always appreciated. So yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for popping in. Thanks Kimberly, True Helper, and oh, my mind's gone blank. Kimberly, True Helper, and my mind's gone completely blank. I know her name, but I don't want to say her real name. Help me, somebody. Firefly. God, that's a sign of age, isn't it? Can't even remember names. Firefly. Sorry. Sorry, Firefly. You know I love you. Right, okay, guys, thanks again, and I'll speak to you soon. Goodbye.